Here you come on in here. Busy man, but going to give us a few minutes this morning, and really do appreciate that. Brian is Baylor's or the Big 12's vice president for basketball, and I know you're busy. You got to be, but thanks for being with us.
Absolutely. Good to be here.
Thank you. How's things gelling around today?
So far, so good. This is an exciting time for everybody. Everybody loves March. Conference tournaments mean the world, and this should be a fun week for everybody here who's here.
Yeah, really fun week. And it's the second week of Big 12 basketball here. The women last week, and things seem to go pretty smoothly last week also.
Yeah, definitely. There's certainly a lot of moving parts. When we come into a building, we're very fortunate. We have a great relationship with T-Mobile. We've been here for a number of years, and we moved the women's tournament over here a couple of years ago, which makes it more seamless. Now it becomes almost like a 2-week festival or 2-week celebration of basketball here at T-Mobile, and the building does a fantastic job. They know us, we know them. They make our lives easy. Yeah. And so last week we had a great women's tournament. West Virginia obviously won that women's tournament yesterday or last week. And, we're ready to carry that momentum forward this week.
Very good. I say this all the time, anytime I'm asked, or even if I'm not asked, but I think Kansas City is a great host spot for this tournament. It's a big deal. It's front page news. It's lead story. I mean, the Big 12 is front and center when this tournament's in town.
You're exactly right. And, a couple of things that we love about being in Kansas City. One, this building. I think the T-Mobile Center is a great building. It's hosted NCAA tournaments, and it does fairly often. So from a venue standpoint, it's first in class. Mm-hmm. And also the city. You mentioned the importance that this tournament has to the city. Certainly a lot of history there over the years, but it really means something. It's almost like the Super Bowl for the city. They don't have an NBA team or things of that nature. So basketball is certainly big here. It's a basketball capital in many regards. The home of the NABC, the NCAA used to be based here. So there's a foundation and a history of basketball here in Kansas City, and we get to kind of be that conduit for them year in and year out.
Yeah. That's very well said, and it's always fun to be here. The hospitality is second to none also in this downtown area with the arena and the Power and Light District. So many hotels downtown. It's just a perfect setup.
Well, when you think about some of the places that you want to go for a Final Four, it's a Indianapolis, it's a San Antonio, it's places like that. And the reason is because of the walkability. Yeah. The reason is because of, everything kind of being around the same area. And Kansas City is a mini version of that for us. You talked about there's hotels everywhere. A lot of the teams are all staying almost in walking distance. We stay down the street at the Lowe's, and I walked over here this morning because it's that convenient. But then there's the Power and Light District. So there's restaurants and bars and things where people can kind of make it an experience, make it a trip. It's obviously right around spring break. Yeah. So for a lot of people, it becomes a little bit destinational. And it's a place that they can come and enjoy with their families. We have several institutions that are drivable. So that obviously helps with attendance and the look and feel. And because of that, we always seem to have really good attendance. Yeah.
Ryan, great regular season for the Big 12. I think about those big Monday games and how great those matchups were. Here we are in the postseason. Can we, I'm sure part of the hope is just to continue the momentum from the regular season right through this tournament this week?
Absolutely. The schedule couldn't have worked out better for us from a national standpoint. Obviously we have 5 TV partners, and each and every one of them really leaned into our product. And, you talked about Big Monday. We had some colossal matchups down the stretch, and that was by design. When we work with our TV partners, there's certain matchups that they like to see in certain windows, and we were able to deliver on some of those. But then not only did we have some of those matchups on Big Monday, we had a lot of intrigue across the board. We had some incredible matchups in that kind of that bubble range down the stretch where teams are jockeying for an opportunity to be in the NCAA tournament. So that was also really fun to watch from a storyline standpoint. So this week should be a continuation of that. We should see some really great games down the stretch, and that'll start today.
Now, you've got your finger on the pulse as well as anybody when you look to NCAA selections coming up on Sunday. How well do you think this league might do?
Well, I know how well this league should do. We should do fantastic. And, I think that should be a testament to our institutions and the years that they've had. When you really think about how good a league that we've been, obviously people really point to the top of our league, and you talk about Arizona, Houston, Iowa State, Texas Tech, Kansas, institutions like that. When they came out with the first reveal from an NCAA standpoint, we had 5 in the top 14. And I fully expect that we should still have 5 in the top 16 when the brackets are released on Sunday. But when you go beyond that, We have a lot of other institutions that have really earned their right to be a part of the NCAA tournament, in my mind. Institutions like UCF, who's had a fantastic year. They're 20-10, 9-9 in the league, win at Texas A&M, for example. West Virginia, who we're going to see here tomorrow, was a top 8 seed in our tournament. And, they have 9 wins in the league. They're a team that, I think that garners a lot of attention. And then a team like Cincinnati that maybe a little bit more under the radar earlier in the year, but they got some guys back from injury. And it's really turned the course of their season. All of a sudden they're playing like a top 25 team. So when you look at those teams like that, I think it's hard pressed for the committee not to say that they're playing like the top 32 team in the country from an at-large standpoint. So I hope that they really respect what the league has done. We had the best record against any of all the P4 conferences. We had the best non-conference winning percentage in the country. Hardest conference to win on the road, things of that nature. Like, it really speaks to how challenging this league is, and it should be rewarded by selection.
Yeah, very well said. Do you lobby at all? Do you let the games, the results speak for themselves? What's going on behind the scenes?
A little bit of both. We certainly, and this is for all conferences, not just ours. Sure. But we have reps on the NCAA selection committee that we are in constant contact with. Starting in January, I meet with them every couple weeks, and we kind of go through what kind of my standpoint is on how I would kind of stack our teams up. We talk about some of the important wins, losses, and one of the unique things that we also communicate about is not that it's justifying a loss, but if there are circumstances around a certain situation. And I'll give you all an example. Which on its face is not a good loss. Right. It's a quad 4 loss against a MAC program. But when you peel the onion back, you realize they didn't have Jizzle James, who's, starting guard, and, they're maybe the straw that stirs the drink. And they didn't have Baba Miller, who is an all-conference player. Right. Neither one of those young men played in that game. So, again, you're not trying to justify the loss, but you are trying to give context around it. And so those are some of the things that we share with the committee so they have an understanding of who the teams are and maybe why some of the teams are changing as time goes on. Cincinnati's playing great basketball right now. They've won 6 of the last 8. Here's some of the reasons why and why they should be considered as an NCAA tournament team.
Interesting. That's great. Brian Thornton is with us, VP of men's basketball for the Big 12. And you played at Xavier. And I don't know how good your freshman year was. I'll go back and look. But what about the freshmen we've had in this league this year?
Well, I'll tell you that my freshman year certainly wasn't like some of these freshmen. I was fortunate. I played at Vanderbilt as a freshman. Oh, you did? And I was on the SEC all freshman team. So that was in today's world, that probably garners a nice paycheck. But right. Back then, I certainly enjoyed my time. But our freshman class is truly incredible. It's unprecedented when you look across the league. There's guys in our league. I mean, you look at Tunde Yesufu for Baylor, where in any other year, he's probably freshman of the year and a first or second team all conference guy. And in this year, he's not. I mean, he'll probably be a top 20 pick in the NBA draft. Yeah. And sometimes he's not even one of the first names out your mouth. When you talk about AJ DeBonsa and Darren Peterson and Kingston Flemings at Houston, the guys at Arizona. I mean, I could just keep going down the list. I mean, there's probably 10, 11 freshmen in this league that, could be NBA players this year.
Would you put, if we did an all freshman, all league team, would you put them up against any other league in the country? Have you looked at that?
If I would put our freshman all league team against any other all conference team.
Oh, that's true. That'd be great. And you've got ESPN College Game Day coming here on Saturday. That'll be a nice build up to the championship game Saturday.
Absolutely. Last year, the game day was at the SEC, and that was justified. The SEC had a great year last year. But one of the conversations I had with ESPN at the time was, just so I understand correct, you're going to send game day to the conference that has the best year. And they said yes. Okay. And so based on the year that we've had, they followed through on their promise, and they brought their A crew and they brought game day here to Kansas City. So I think that that's a testament to where ESPN views our league, and they view our league as having had, a phenomenal year, and they wanted to reward us with that opportunity.
Very cool. I really appreciate your time. I know you're busy. Thanks very much. And we're hoping Baylor sticks around for a few days here in Kansas City.
I really appreciate being with you.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Brian Thornton, Vice President for men's basketball here for the Big 12.